Hello, welcome to this video. My name is Terry Shield. I am host here at Love School and on the channel at YouTube. In this video, this is part of a series where I am exploring and unpacking how I overcame my bullying wounds and rejection sensitivity. In this second video, we're going to look at what it all meant. We're going to look at the deeper insight into how I managed to heal and recover from these repeating patterns and these wounds in my life. If you haven't watched it already, there is a previous video 1, where I just kind of frame some of the wounds, look at some of the patterns and unpack how that manifested in different ways in my life. You might find that insightful and interesting for you, just so you get an idea of how you can relate what I'm saying in this video to your own life, to your own experiences. Because in this video, we're going to unpack a slightly deeper view of it all and see how you can start to tap into that for yourself at the first kind of stages of becoming aware, and then potentially healing and going through a recovery process to work through these wounds. This video is part of a series, so there'll be another couple of videos that'll come up after this. So please remember to like and subscribe and click the notification bell if you want to be notified of future videos like this. So as I covered in the first video, I was having, for most of my life, I've had repeating patterns of dynamics with other people that are linked with kind of bullying or being targeted. And I've had to go through a process of understanding how that was impacting us and making a choice basically to decide that I can't control other people. I can't control other people's opinions of me, their choices, their actions. And if I can't control that, I can't live with the wounding that I had that was leaving me incredibly vulnerable and sensitive and really ruining my life in many ways and impacting me really negatively in many ways, because the only thing we can control is ourselves. And perhaps there's reasons why people don't like us, target us, want to belittle or make us small. I couldn't live my life being constantly in fear of other people's reactions to me, their opinions, their ideas, their judgments. And that, because I couldn't control that at all, like what they thought of me, if it was something negative, allowing that to hurt me was actually causing me problems and not them. So by internalizing all this, by making it about me, and then trying to respond and change something about me or cope with the feelings I was having in response, it was having such a huge negative impact in my life. I had to make a change. Now, this wasn't always the case. There would be different times in my life as I had gained confidence, or if I had moved to a different environment or was around new people, where I would be free of these symptoms, if you like. I didn't have these experiences, but they would come back around. I would always end up with the same patterns resurfacing again and again and again. And this is what this video is about. It's like the deeper insight, the deeper understanding that I gained when I started to acknowledge this was a pattern, seeing that it kept happening, and looking at why, what was going on in these interactions, but what can I control about them that stops them affecting me in a way where I felt so hurt and, like I say, sensitive and stifled. So one of the main insights that I had to realize, or that I did realize through this healing process, is I made other people's opinions of me, their negative responses to me, their exclusion of me, their targeting of me, all about me. Which is natural, right? That's what we do. We're human. All we know is our experience. We don't know what's going on in other people's. We can guess. I'll cover some of that in a bit. We can guess about what might be going on in other people's lives, but we don't know. We don't know anything really about other people. They know them. All we know is us. And so if we're getting a lot of like feedback or perceived feedback, negative feedback. We have certain wounds, especially ones where we don't feel like we're good enough, where that's come from probably a deep childhood place that we've subconsciously internalized without even realizing it, right? Which was the case for me. So I realized all these interactions that I had, I always made them about me, even if it wasn't like verbally or consciously. If someone didn't like us, it's because I wasn't likable. Someone rejected us, it's because there was something deficient in me. If someone targeted us, it's because I had done something wrong. I was standing out too much. I had said something wrong. I had me, right? And I was given an additional meaning to that. So I said something wrong. I must be rude. I need to change this. And for years, everything in my life was kind of about me shape-shifting and changing to try and please everyone. People pleaser, right? Don't say that. Don't say this. Don't look like that. Don't act like that. Don't go there. Don't dress like that. Don't. And then do agree with people. Do be polite. Do make sure you do your hair. Do wear makeup. Whatever. Everything that I was doing was about everybody else. And it wasn't about me. Really. So I was making everything about me. Was making everything about me. Must be something wrong. And at the same time, rejecting myself completely to then shapeshift and make my life, my expression, how I was about everyone else to try and please everyone. And guess what I learned? People are never pleased. You can do all the things all the time in all the ways that you have learned and internalized that I must be like this, must be like that, and people are still not going to like you if they don't. If people don't want to like you, they're not going to like you. There's nothing you can do. Well, I'm not saying you. I realize there's nothing I could do to make people who didn't like me like me. Just couldn't. And all of the meaning, all of the corresponding this means that, so that I have to then do had completely lost who I was and was taking over my entire life. So one of the main insights was realizing how much I was doing that. And now I don't, as much as possible. It didn't just happen overnight. Like I say, it's like practice, and you just have to learn, like, not everyone's supposed to like each other. Just watch nature for a while. I get most of my inspiration from nature. Just watch nature for a while, right? Do you feel upset and offended that a deer runs off when you come? The deer is not making a judgment on you. The deer is just like, that is a potential risk. That's a threat to me, to their mindset, right? To their vulnerability, perceived vulnerability. They're just going to run off, right? So it's the same with some people. Like, you don't then get offended, like, oh dear, don't run off. I'm not a threat. I mean, well, I have said that in the past because I like the deer, but you know what I mean? You don't take that person like, oh, like I'm such a bad person. That deer ran off. You just know deers are skitty and they're generally going to avoid people because some people shoot them and kill them, right? Like you can't change that deer's instincts because the deer is not going to listen to you. The deer might learn to trust people, but that's that deer's experience, and that's for the deer to decide. I've gone off on one about deers, but you know, it's that sort of thing. I realized I was internalizing a lot about other people's responses to me, making them mean things about me when actually people's responses are their stuff, and they've got every right to have their responses. That people are going to do what keeps them safe. People are going to do what's best for them in their lives. And if you, even if you're not an actual threat, if they perceive you as a threat in some way, or you don't fit in with that, or you make them feel uncomfortable, or that can be nothing you've done wrong. It can just be not quite the right, blend of energy, of personality, of anything. People will reject people for being, smarter than them. People will reject people for being too stupid. You know what I mean? Like you can't ever please other people by being a certain level of smart, because you can be really smart and people will reject you, or you can be really not smart and people will still reject you. So yeah, that was just something that I really had to kind of become aware of and move out of that mindset of making other people's responses about me and not them. And then this is the next thing. So actually, I used to, once I realized that, and almost as a defense mechanism, I would then make their choice to reject me or attack me or leave me out or whatever as a negative for a while. Like, especially if there was like hurt, you remember to get like anger. So you've kind of stopped projecting on justifying that they must be a bad person, right? They must be horrible. They must be stupid. They must be ignorant. They must be whatever. Fill in the blank, because I know we've all done this. Just need to look on the internet for 5 minutes and you'll see that everywhere. So in order to protect my own wounding, I would be very defensive for a period, right? It would mean that there must be something wrong with them. Like I say, everything I've just said, I would project out. I would make in order for them to reject me, they had to be a bad person. They had to be wrong. Because actually, like it would maybe be even a deeper wound because I had this vulnerability to just accept maybe they're a good, nice, decent person and they don't like me, or and they don't want to be around me, or and they're making the choice not to engage with me in this circumstances or not invite me to their party, whatever it is. So that was something that I really had to kind of unpack and uncover and be aware of. No one's perfect. This one comes around a lot. This defensiveness, and it's an ongoing practice that I choose to try and do, is not to make other people's choices about me or about them. That in moment to moment to moment to moment, we're all just out here doing our best trying to survive. And sometimes the energies don't blend, or we don't like certain people, can't put up with them at that time, whatever. Doesn't matter. Sometimes we're not meant to be interacting with each other. And that's fine. Doesn't have to mean anything about them. Doesn't have to mean anything about me. There were periods in my life when these experiences would bother me a lot more than others, which I noticed. And often that was to do with my own health and well-being, how well I was doing in my own judgments of myself. So for example, if I had a lot of friends, it didn't matter if someone else rejected me. If I was generally doing okay in my career or financially, it didn't really matter if I didn't get a certain job opportunity. Whatever was going on in my life would depend on how much this affected us. So it wasn't always the same. It was an ebb and flow. And the more that I felt vulnerable in myself, or was even in many ways vulnerable, the more those experiences stung. And I often think that when we're going through a healing process or recovery process, even if that's conscious or not, if we start to feel more vulnerable, it's an invitation to look at what's going on under there, right? How can we build our strength up? How can we build our vulnerability up? Sometimes we just are vulnerable. Sometimes we just have to admit that we are vulnerable and make it not mean something about ourselves. And the more vulnerable we are, the more we tend to make that mean something about ourselves, and especially mean something about someone else. So let me give you an example. If we're having money problems, if we're having like career financial problems, right? If we're going through a dry spell, whatever. I mean, I've always been freelance and stuff, so even if you've got a salary, right, you suddenly have a big expense, and suddenly you're like, oh, I'm in debt, right? If we're in that vulnerable place, and then we miss out on a job opportunity, or someone rejects something that we're selling, or we see a tenner on the floor and someone else picks it up. I don't know. I'm trying to think of something that I might have in the past felt sensitive about. If we are already feeling that lack and that vulnerability, that's going to hurt more. I was too slow to pick up the tenner. I didn't do good enough on the job interview. I wasn't good enough in the sales pitch. They they were really selfish taking that tenner. They missed it. They were stupid. They didn't see that I was the best person for the job, or they've missed out on the opportunity of this because they couldn't see the value of my offer. This was like the pattern. The more vulnerable we were, the more I was doing them first two things, which was like making it mean something about me and making it mean something about them. And I noticed that when I felt more full, when my life felt more full, and I didn't have that sense of vulnerability, I didn't do that. It was just like more water off a duck's back, like, oh, well, the next one will come along or whatever. So, dependent on the circumstances in my life, my personal growth, my situations would depend actually on how sensitive I was realistically. And realizing that it's like a massive shift, because if we realize that when we feel whole or more full or less vulnerable in ourselves, it doesn't bother us as much. Other people's opinions, rejection, whatever it is. So the sensitivity comes when we are more vulnerable, when we feel a lack, when we don't feel as strong or supported or whatever it is. Because I noticed that there was this like ebb and flow and how other people affected us and things, I noticed energetically that these patterns would repeat. And I covered it a little bit in the first one and gave some different examples about how they would repeat. But what I've learned to do just on my healing recovery journey, because I'm into all the spiritual stuff and like karma, and you can check out all the stuff on YouTube where I cover different videos about that, about patterns. Like in nature, everything goes through patterns of like growth. Look at the seasons and things. There's times that we bloom, there's times where things fall down, and it's like the same, I think, with the experiences that we get and the way energy kind of moves. It kind of follows certain patterns, especially while we're engaging with them and interacting with them and stuff. So even if the person or the environment or the circumstance might have been different, the energy, the pattern, the wound that was being brought up was the same. So as I got deeper looking at this stuff, I began to realize it wasn't about that person. It was about a pattern or experience that was repeating in my life that I had again and again. And when we look at that, that can be quite scary to think, oh no, I'm in a pattern. Like that means that more of this shit is just going to happen and stuff. But the pattern is about, oh, I've learned, it's about our growth, right? So if we can use these patterns, go, right, well, there might be more experiences like this, but what can I do differently next time? How can I show up differently? How can I use it to heal my wounds so I'm not as vulnerable? So we might face the same rejection again and again, or the same target and whatever it is again and again. And once we become aware that, look, this might happen. And this is what shifted in my mindset. If this is going to happen, right? This is just a pattern in my life that's going to happen. I need to not be so sensitive about it, because therefore I can't say I didn't know what's going to happen, because obviously if when I looked at it, I did. Once I'd seen it, I was aware. So it is going to happen. People are going to reject you. People are going to target you. Some people are going to dislike you. Some people are always going to disagree with you. You're never going to be enough for some people. You know what I mean? Some people are always going to think you're too much. So these patterns exist. So rather than try and fight the pattern and change the pattern, what's the constant? So I can change the vulnerability to the pattern, the fear around the pattern, the resistance to the pattern. That's the stuff that I can control in a healing and recovery journey. That's when I started to like look deeper and look at what was going on for me, how I was coping, internalizing, and what was this wound underneath it all. So for me, I would reject people. Like I've had some real phases of solitude, isolation, and sometimes that's been very necessary. Sometimes that's just happened with circumstances. But actually, when I was unconscious of it, that was one of my defense mechanisms. And actually, I talk about it a bit. People don't talk about it very often in the whole trauma response thing. They talk about fight. I'll do more videos in the future specifically about this, but fight, flight, freeze, flop, fawn, hide. the sixth trauma response that the most of us do. So people might say that's like a freeze response or something, but it's not. It's different, because freezing is not moving at all. Hiding is running away and hiding. And I used to do that a lot. So I would hide myself in one way or another. So that's like creating the mask. So I might hide my personality or how I would like to dress, or wear dark colors instead of the bright colors that I love. Hiding my voice, not speaking up, but also literally not engaging with people. Just don't be around people. And that under the thing, well, the less people are around, the less that I can be wounded and rejected. But actually, which isn't always, potentially works, but often it doesn't, because people will always find you. If it's one of your karmic patterns and you got to pay it back, they'll come around. I've learned now any periods of isolation to be like a bit of a retreat where I can use them and have dived into my wounds to heal them more and engage with more people and see what comes up and learn and grow and use them experiences wisely. But when I was doing that, it was actually a form of self-abandonment, because actually if I didn't want, because I still had a deep desire, a deep drive for like community or connection or intimacy, trust, all these things that we kind of wanted, all like on my like wish list, my manifestation list. Just look at love schools, all about connection, community, have to have better communication skills, all of this, because I wanted to connect with people, but I would isolate myself. So it was a form of self-abandonment, which was a deep, like I say, one of these people pleasing, shape-shifting wounds that I had, fawning, trying to please people, that came from this deeper meaning I'd give to everything. There must be something wrong with me. There must be something. So that's like a deep shame thing that was manifesting in my life. So if you find you have this cycle as well, where you hide from people, you retract from people, but actually you really want connection, it could be worth looking at that. It's like often this idea that you need to self-abandon in order to get some sort of connection or interaction from people. And what I found, though, that actually this self-abandonment, the silence and the hiding myself, actually had more negative consequences than just being myself and being rejected by someone else. A lot of my healing journey has been about being myself, facing the consequences, and I might lose people. People might reject me. I might not be welcome in certain environments, but actually then realize, well, I don't want to be around people who don't want to be around me. And if that person has been rejected from my life for some reason, then that's protecting my energy. That's keeping me in my alignment and my authenticity. So learning to like live my life on my terms and not internalize this and make their rejection about me or about them, just living my life in that authentic alignment, has had much better long-term impact for my health and well-being. My mental health used to suffer so much, and like I say, that rippled into like my physical health, my energy, all of it. My entire life was being dictated by other people's validations or lack of it, and being able to kind of shift that and look at, well, this is my pattern, these are my responses, this is my life, this is my expression, and I would rather live with the consequences of being myself and being happy and healthy and fulfilled and well, which then means I'm less vulnerable, right? So that when they do come in and I do have these experiences, it doesn't bother me as much. So this video has been a little bit about that. So they're like kind of the key things that I found to notice, accept, had to work through as part of healing this wound. In the next video, I'm going to explain more about what I did to actually heal the wounds, give you some tools and tips and all that. So if you've noticed some resonance with what I'm saying, if you haven't watched the first video, watch the first video, I would recommend. But spend some time just reflecting on what I've said in that video and this video. Look at what the patterns are, notice them, and then begin to maybe become aware of how you've coped, how you've responded. What do you do when you feel vulnerable or when you feel rejected, when you feel targeted in some way? What happens for you? Just start to become aware of that, because in the next video, I'm going to explain the nitty-gritty of where the healing and recovery comes from, what to actually do to change the stuff you've noticed. Please remember to like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments anything that comes up for you, anything you want to discuss. I love hearing from you, and you can always email me as well if you want. mail@loveschool.uk. I'll link that up. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.